Welcome to the Bleeding Edge Report with Chris and Treg, where tech meets its match. Well, hey everyone, welcome to the Bleeding Edge Report, episode 1. It's our first video podcast that we're doing with Chris and Treg. And just to give you a little information, what we were trying to do with these podcasts is we want to use our knowledge that we gained over the last 30 years from working in the tech industry to shed some light on this confusing tech industry and what actually goes down. And then after that, try and give some insight into what directions, are kind of good strategies for companies. So without further ado, we'll go into our first program here, and I'll introduce Chris. And Chris, what are we going to be talking about today?
Hey, Treg, thanks for the invitation to jump in here. You know that I've been looking through the jobless reports over the past couple of weeks because they don't make a lot of sense if you just read the articles as they spill out. So I was doing a little bit of research to try to make sense of that. And as you said, my specialty and yours is to provide unsolicited advice to folks in the tech industry about what to do here. So without further ado.
Hold it. Did you say unsolicited?
It is unsolicited, yeah. But
hopefully it's a little solicited too, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll earn their business every day.
Okay,
but on a serious note, I just want to start you with a question. Do you know how many jobs were lost in the tech industry last year in 2022?
For the whole year. Yeah. For the whole year. Well, how many jobs were lost? Were we at negative or positive as a country as a whole last year? Do you know?
Oh, we're positive 4.5 million jobs, U.S. economy. So
really, okay,
yeah, tech industry. I'm giving you a hint. The tech industry lost jobs last year.
Jeez.
How many?
Take a guess. Lost that many with all that. Okay, let's say 50, 60,000, 70,000, somewhere in there.
Did you say 155,000? Because you'd be right.
No, I did say 155,000.
Yeah, 155,000, pretty close. 154 and some change, according to Layoffs.fyi. Excellent resource for this information. Really good detail. If you guys want to take a look at it, you can do that on your own time. So far in January, any guess on how many jobs have been lost in tech industry?
In January?
Yeah,
sorry,
January
I was drinking
alone.
some coffee. So in 11 days, how many jobs have been lost? Yeah. Or how many tech people got or couldn't log in the morning when they went to work? Got it. I have no idea. Another 5, 10, what?
18,000.
18,000.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So the Fed is getting what they want, right? They're starting to see these layoffs, and the reason for these layoffs, as you know, is because of the uncertain times ahead, right? So everybody who the tech industry sells to is holding their purse strings tight. That is going to affect the probability of sales coming through. So the tech companies, the largest ones, are holding their purse strings on both CapEx and OpEx. That's why they're shedding jobs, because the jobs that they shed are kind of working like a shock absorber to control the overall bottom line. That's what's going on.
So I got a question for you then. So yeah. if I'm what does the industry know about this? I mean, employees for tech companies, a lot of tech companies, have to see the empty desks around them, right? Or the less people on the video call, so they know there's layoffs. The CFOs of the tech companies, they obviously have to know that people are being laid off, right? Do you think these people understand how big of a shift it is, or how many layoffs they are?
Well, in their particular company, sure they do. Particularly if it's publicly traded, right? They disclose this publicly, so people are reading it on the news feeds just like everybody else, and they go, "Oh wow, there's a company meeting on this subject. Let's attend that." And but in terms of seeing it around the office, well, who knows, right? Because a lot of people are still working from home, so the office is already empty, right? So, for example, Salesforce.com, they're looking to reduce their overall spend both CapEx, OpEx by $3 to $5 billion, right? So clearly they're making much more than that, probably towards 40, 50 billion, but they're looking to reduce their overall spend by 3 to 5 billion. A lot of that's going to be office space. They're looking to move out of and sell off some of the real estate assets they have, or otherwise not renew leases. And in addition to that, they're laying off workers, a lot of them, wide ranging. The one thing that I was looking at in my analysis is that they all look like the biggest tranche of that looks to be mid-level managers who are probably making $200,000 a year, that type. But in terms of job discipline, it's across the board: sales, IT, tech, software development, et cetera, et cetera. Even headcount, HR recruit, they're being laid off as well. So it's pretty interesting to see the wide swath that's being used there. And they'll be okay.
How would you compare this versus the layoffs that occurred, at the beginning of the pandemic in that time?
Well, in some ways it's very different, right? Because these same companies who are laying off today were the ones hiring back then, right? Because a lot of them are platform companies, right? So Salesforce.com, they look to load up on staff because their demands for their services increased when workers went to home, right? Because the need for work from home services increased, right? The remote worker was skyrocketed. Folks like that. Amazon increased, as you can imagine. Folks like Twitter, they increased their because messaging back then, omni-channel type of messaging was key. Facebook Meta is another example, another platform provider that all of those increased their headcount at that time. So the people who laid off were the folks who were more anchored towards traditional work in the office. And that's where we saw that dramatic slowdown, particularly in the retail and restaurant industry. Noteworthy.
So let me ask you this then. So what I hear you saying, and which is good information, but what I hear you saying is that the companies ramped up. The companies are laying people off, or the companies are ramped up after the pandemic and the influx of working from home and all the other apps and everything that people had to use. So the platform companies, like you said.
Yeah.
So are we just getting back to normal then? Is this an example of, okay, we got too many people to begin with, so we need to get back to normal? Or is this part of the inflation recession spending, or maybe a decrease in spending that's going on too? Or is it a combination, or what is it, do you think?
Well, I think your last comment, that is combination, is clearly the answer, right? And the macroeconomic tools that are being used in this country, meaning the interest rates being raised in order to cool inflation, is one of the major reasons why you're seeing this readjustment or lean sizing of headcount right now, right? And some of the guys, Mark Benioff from Salesforce.com, he just came right out and said, "Yeah, we hired too many people," right? And so they're readjusting, reallocating the resources for what looks like a uncertain time ahead. And
so let me ask you a question then. What so there's a lot of people getting laid off, and there still is. I mean, you said 18,000 in the first 11 days, right?
Yeah.
So us as a company that deals with tech companies all the time in these situations,
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of insights do we have, or do you have any insights you can throw along to pass to them to help them think about 2023 a little bit?
Sure. Unsolicited advice. Here you go.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you are a very large multinational corporation, the all the labels that I just shared, the Meta, Facebook, Salesforce, even Cisco of the world, Amazon, Twitter, all these guys are top brands, very large organizations. There's nothing wrong with them doing layoffs. In fact, they should lean into it, and there's going to be more, right? So if your company hasn't announced yet and you're a large organization, chances are they're going to, right? Because the headwinds are everybody's facing are the same. So the executives in that role at that size company should be working with their finance teams and embracing the need to right size or lean size your workforce. And that means layoffs. There's nothing wrong with it. However,
Well, I have a little something caveat there. And that is, you got to question how many of these employees that are in the middle of getting laid off, how many were kind of considered disposable in the first place in terms of being contractors and everything else, right? So
right.
we talked about the quiet quitters, the people not doing anything. I mean, how much baggage was there uh, that you could throw out of the truck, right? And then so I could the truck and keep on going down the road.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the question. And there's always going to be mistakes in making those types of decisions, but that's what the C-suite is doing. They're making these, they're trying to gather this data down to the name level of people, right? Trying to figure out how much are they contributing? How valuable are they to the organization? That's the level of detail these guys are doing in order to draw up the list and make it happen. And yeah, you're going to drop a lot of the quiet quitters. That's going to go away, in my opinion. And so if you are a tech worker, let's flip it around for a second. If you are a tech worker at one of these large corporations, and you are passionate and successful, and you're a mid-level manager and you're making good money, nevertheless, you're still a target. So you need to be looking at who's hiring in the marketplace. Where could you find a really good spot to land? Because this could be a great opportunity for you to really find a fantastic place to go and take that experience and tacit knowledge you have about running business into the next enterprise. And that was what I was going to transition to was, if you are a small, medium business or a startup business in the tech industry, now's your time to pick up those top talented folks that are walking out the door with their experience and knowledge of running these larger firms, and put them to work for you. So the advice that I'm giving clients today for a large enterprise like an HP or Cisco or Intel, whoever, is exactly opposite of what the advice is that I'm giving the small, medium business folks, because this is a very interesting time right into, right where we are in the economic cycle. And so that's that's the unsolicited advice for today from me.
So if you're on the enterprise side, keep on trimming. Don't be afraid. You're going to have to do it. Just try and do it smart. And we've seen that so many times, right, over the last 30 years.
Yeah, no doubt.
Started with the tech bubble in 99, the mortgage problem in 2007, 2008. Those are kind of natural economic or natural industry issues that kind of came along. But this time around, now you got the pandemic on top of things. Everyone
Yeah,
ramps up, like you said, because of the pandemic. And then now they got to ramp down.
That's right.
And is it bad? Is all these layoffs bad? Well, maybe not necessarily, because now we're just getting back to business as usual, right? Yeah.
That's right.
Well, yeah. So I have a friend that every day is wondering, and he works for a company that ramped up. I mean, one of the key companies that ramped up, and he's in the sales position, and he's waiting basically every day, every time he walks in, every time he logs in, he's waiting for that phone call, because he's just been seeing team members drop, like flies around him.
Sure.
So he's hoping he's one of the special ones that get to stay.
Well, my advice to him is don't wait. You should be talking to some of your colleagues who have already joined up with some of these smaller firms who are aggressively tooling up for the next economic upswing, because it's going to come. Right. I'm optimistic about the future. I'm not afraid about where we're at and the headwinds that we see in 2023, all that doom and gloom. I actually think we're on track. We're back on track. I think COVID threw us off into kind of gone down a scenic path, and now we're tracking back to a more traditional path of how the business economic cycle works. And so I'm optimistic about how things are going to turn out.
Well, let's do our viewers a favor and try and keep an eye on it. Maybe a month or two down the road, one of the episodes, we come back at this and see where we're at a little bit. I think that'd be interesting after this first quarter. Yeah,
that sounds good.
Well, that's kind of our short version of our episode. That's kind of the format that we plan on using in the future. We're going to have a discussion about some of these technology issues that are going on and give a little bit of advice. Today, we kind of talked about a broad topic, but we'll probably be more focused on other topics in the future, really focused. And we appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate you listening. Again, if you like what you hear or want to hear it again, and make sure you like and subscribe so you can see our next podcast. And we plan on sending out a new podcast every Wednesday morning. So again, Thank you very much from Treg.
Thank you.
And thank you, Chris, for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.